Well, hello and good evening and welcome to Positively Positive. I'm your host, Susan Mintz. Isn't that tune catchy? Oh, I just think that is a marvelous tune. Hum it. Anyway, somebody asked me about my rings and said, where did you get your rings? Where I get everything. From China. How's that say? I'm being really honest. China owns me, but it certainly is a great look. So again, welcome to Positively Positive, the only show of its kind that is exclusively dedicated to speaking to people, places, and other things regarding HIV and AIDS. Of course, STDs are also thrown into the mix, but this show is about HIV and AIDS. From last year, we have grown, we've had twice as many people view us as last year. And the need is great because people are wanting to be on. So I know that this show is necessary and that we've tapped into a stream of people who absolutely want to talk about their stories, where they work, how they got involved with HIV. So I am so proud to be the host of this innovative, energetic, one-of-a-kind program that is reaching people all over the country. And that's the intro to Positively Positive. Tonight's guest, is exceptional. I saw I was a doubtfire. Is exceptional. Not only is he my friend, not only is he the CEO of his own company, not only is he a community activist when it comes to HIV, a spokesperson, a champion for wellness and health, but I'm not only going to ask him the business side of him, which is Campbell Health. Yes, that was a hint. Richardo Jackson, the one and only. But people can find out the business end of somebody by Googling them, Safari this, go to Campbell Health. But tonight I also want to focus on some of the personal aspects of this incredible man who took a leap of faith 3-4 years ago and said our community needs Campbell Health Solutions. And no matter what it takes, I'm going to be there to help supply it. And I knew he was the right person for me because when I was on his show, his podcast, I said to him I wanted this program called Positively Positive. And he, without hesitation, said, let's do it. And here we are, all these episodes, shows later. Consistency, people. Have passion for what you're doing, but be consistent. That's what it's about. People want consistency, especially when it comes to videos, music, this, that. And we are doing it. So I'm going to say, as many of you know, my glasses have come off. And when that happens, I am about to announce that I want my producer, the CEO, my friend, Richardo Jackson, you come on in.
That was the lovely.
And here he is. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, when you kidding me? You're the one doing it. I just hosted. This is your baby, Toots. We knew we had a great team, though, when we were starting this program, because we both were on the same page when it came to health, wellness, promoting that in the community and beyond. But this man has a heart of a servant, and his passion is health and wellness. But before I get to some of the other stuff, I have to ask this man, whose smile is still bigger than mine and whiter than my teeth. That upsets me sometimes. What are those balloons in the background for?
Oh, these balloons. We just hosted our second annual Campbell Health Summit and Expo, and so these balloons were um, part of the decoration setup, the ambiance, and they were created by Lux Vents. You can find her on Instagram, Lux Vents. She uh, create romantic rooms and for romantic celebrations in hotels and homes, things like that. Um, and so you can find her there, Lux Spence, and I'll tag her in the comment section.
Please. And also, I think someone told me that April 26th, that might be a birthday also. So are we trying to get as much out of these as possible?
Well, these are well, I guess you can say that, right? These are currently they're in my office. So as people come into the clinic and come in for different services, they can see it. So I guess it can also be it's reminiscent of the Rastafarian culture or the the Afro Caribbean flags, which are like red. The top part here is kind of like the Jamaican, well, almost the Rastafarian color. So red, black. There's black down here too.
And
But
your
they're
Black
here. But they're
Health
here. They're here.
and the Black Health Summit was incredible this year.
Yes, it was amazing.
It really was. And I mean, it gets better and better because the people get so involved. I talk about consistency with the show. Consistency in everything is a succeed. Even if you don't think it's happening overnight, consistency is what people want. And you have shown that in consistency. So, what I want to know though, besides April 26th, is his birthday.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday. Uh,
Thank
Send
you.
money. He doesn't want cards. Send money. Cash. Cash works. Anyway, I want to know, and this show tonight is going to be personal because, as I said, you can go to campbellhealth.org and find out a lot about what he does in the community, and we'll get to that. But I also want you to know that we're going to tell you some personals about him that many of you don't know. You watch these shows and you see this man. In fact, it's interesting on my website. There's pictures of my late husband and myself on the gallery on SusanMintz.com. Go to the gallery, and there's pictures of my husband and myself and me. And then there's one picture of myself smiling with this man of color. And nobody knows who that is. And several people have said, "Is that your boyfriend?" So in some ways I go, well, he was, or he may be, or he could have been, but you're the only picture that is of another man in there. And so, ta-da, he is my producer, the CEO of Campbell Health, and he's my friend who was willing to take a chance on this show, and it's so successful. So I want to ask your birthday boy on the 26th, where were you originally from?
Oh, so I am originally from Jamaica, the West Indies. Um, Migrated to New York when I was 14 and I've lived in the US ever since. But I do travel, so that works.
You travel, you said, back to where you said you travel?
Well, I travel all over the place.
Yes,
So, yeah.
yeah, you certainly do.
Some
But
people
you are
like bags, some people like shoes, some people like cars. My thing is traveling.
okay. Well, I'll help you pack if you'll take me with you. Anyway, I don't like travel. I've done too much of it. But anyway, so you are originally from Jamaica. Do you have family there yet?
Yeah, I still have lots of family who live there, who still lives there, and so yeah, families, immediate family, cousins, stuff like that. And I have family here too in Florida.
Well, we'll get into that shortly. Now, don't rush me. I have my list made out. I have my list that you sent me made out. I want to go in order so then we can really take this where we need to go. You said you went from Jamaica to New York. Did you go to school in Jamaica or did you go to school in New York? And then how did you get to here?
A little bit of both. I did go to. I started out in the Caribbean. We used to. I think they still do have it, but we used to have what is called all age school. So it's usually first grade all the way to ninth grade. So it's around uh, what we would call elementary, middle school, and high school here combined. Um, and Then I went to New York and went to high school in New York, Boys and Girls High School in Brooklyn. And then after that, I went to college and graduated from St. Joseph's College of New York with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Community Health and Human Services and a Bachelor's of Science degree in Organizational Management and certificate in Leadership and Supervision.
Are you working on a master's or are you going to write that book shortly while you still have me to help you?
So I completed the master's already. I do have a master's in business administration from Northwood University, which used to have a campus here on Military, which is now Kaiser.
Right. Are you going on for a doctorate?
Started, but
Really?
paused.
Yeah, but are you working also? Are you going to get that book out at some point? Because you have a book in you that's burning to get out.
Oh yeah, I think I have about 6 or 7. So yeah,
Well,
when I when
starts
I'm able to find some time.
it starts with one first, okay? You're not the Harry Potter series. Just give me one first so I can help you with it. That's exciting. But then how did you end up coming to Florida? Because I know you've been all over the state. How did from New York you get to Florida?
Yeah, so I lived in New York for about 20 years. Always worked in HIV prevention since I was a young adult, and have not really worked outside of that. I've had 2 jobs before starting in this field. I worked as a stock clerk at Duane Reade, which is now Walgreens in New York, for about a year. And before that, I did sales. Uh, and then I got into HIV prevention, and I've practically worked every single position there is, or every title of roles that you would think of. So everything from an advocate to a tester, HIV tester, outreach, program director, program manager, coordinator. So yeah, phlebotomist. So
That's always good to know. I can give you my arm and you can always do it for me. Listen, but the other thing is, so how did you end up in Florida specifically here?
So my mom had gotten sick a couple of years ago, about 11 years ago, and I found out because she wasn't. I was calling one day, like you just get you get those urges to call someone, and she wouldn't answer, and I was like, I kept calling, and then I called my stepdad, who was being so elusive and also a poor liar. And so I kept asking, "Where's mommy? I need to talk to her. Is everything okay?" And I couldn't get any solid answer. And so finally, he had no choice but to give her the phone. And she was in the hospital because she was sick. And so I decided, being the oldest of 4, I decided that I would move here just to be closer to her, and so this way I can get to her more quickly than if I was thousands of miles away. So I relocated here in 2013, um, and then we thought things was getting better with my mom, but it wasn't. And in 2020, she finally passed away from lung cancer, and we just kind of like had to go through that transition. So 2020 was a very good year, but also kind of a traumatic year because
Bittersweet.
I lost my mom in February of that year. Actually, March 13th is her birthday, and that's the day that the company was incorporated.
Yeah.
And then on the September of that same year, my grandmother passed away in Jamaica of, I think it was ovarian cancer, I want to say. And so I don't know. And then December 31st, I broke my ankle in 5 places. So 2020
Wow.
was just not really a good year, but it was really good overall, I would have to say. It's
The other thing with Campbell Health Solutions, I've asked you this before, but tell our viewers, how did Campbell Health Solutions, the word Campbell, become the name of your company?
So about a year after my mom passed away, um, I was at home recuperating because I broke my ankle, and so I was um, in a cast for about 6 months, and I was just people just evaluating, going through scenarios, and at that point I had worked in this field for 19 years or just about 20 years, and I was like, what does retirement from this look like? And I just didn't see myself stop being from working in this field and helping people. And so I was just like, maybe it looks like me just transitioning into starting my own company. And so we tried several different names, and then I wanted to honor my mom in this very special way. So Campbell is my mom's maiden name, and she was the only child. Um, so that's why we named the company Campbell Health Solutions, because we wanted to celebrate my mom and honor her legacy. And also, my mom was
That's
the kind of
wonderful.
person who took in people literally off the
Mm.
street. Everyone, she can talk to paint. Everyone, she didn't have a problem with meeting people and talking to people, and she was always trying to help somebody and help people to better their life, better their situation. And by trade, she was also a nurse, and so it
Yeah.
was like a spirit. And for a
So
very long time after moving here, she worked as a hospice nurse for many years before passing.
so your mom worked as a hospice nurse here. Wow. But see, there's the servant's heart. The apple does not fall far from the tree. You inherited that part of your mom that is community, health and wellness, giving back, honoring. You are that type of a person, and you're honoring your mom with that name every time you see Campbell Health. That's your mom looking down at you and saying, well done, well done. Now, the other question is, what is Campbell Health Solutions? I only know you like this, right? I've only known you for a couple of years. Would you please tell our viewers who are new, really, besides going to your website, campbellhealth.org or Campbell Health Solution, tell us about Campbell Health Solutions, what you do, what your goals, what your aim, what you have strived, what you have given your heart to. and sacrificed in some ways your part of you because you saw that need. What is Campbell Health Solutions?
Campbell Health Solution is uh, a place where people can have a really great healthcare experience. And so we wanted to change how people interact with healthcare systems. And we wanted people to be able to come here and feel comfortable and feel like they have just walked, and that feeling you get when you go home for the holidays, just comfy and safe and amongst your tribe. And so we wanted to create a place where people can find their tribe. And so, so many other places do exist that offer similar services to ours, but we wanted to create a space that is safe, that is accepting, that is open. The folks can come here and find the resources that they need. And if we don't offer resources, we don't gatekeep. We help people to identify resources in their community. So if someone lives in Boca and wanted to receive like HIV care and treatment, we would refer them to a place in Boca because it's closer to their homes. And that day when they need to go to their doctor's appointment and they don't have enough gas or their car isn't working, we don't want folks to have to cancel their appointments just because they can't make it to their doctors. And I know that's not the thinking for everyone, and it's okay. Um, but for us, it is. And that's just how we work. We want people to feel comfortable. We work to accommodate our clients. So we have a Tuesday night clinic that goes until 9 p.m. at night. So people can come in and get all the services that we offer. So for our services, we do offer free HIV counseling and testing, STD screenings, hepatitis screening, care and treatment, HIV care and treatment. We also offer primary care services. We also offer STD screening, STDs and STI screenings, treatment. And we also offer PrEP and PEP, which is pre-exposure
SCD.
prophylaxis,
Yeah.
and post-exposure prophylaxis, which is basically a pill you take to prevent HIV. And so the PrEP portion of that, you take it every day to prevent HIV. It's kind of like the birth control of HIV. And then the PEP portion of that, which is post-exposure prophylaxis, you have to take it within 72 hours of having an exposure to HIV. And then you take it for about 28 days. And basically it pushes medication into your body. So this way it prevents HIV prevents you from acquiring HIV. So it's the plan B of.
So you're you're a full service as far as if you don't have the service, you can refer, and not just in Palm Beach County. You have connections all over the state and elsewhere, don't you?
Yeah. So we've helped to
You're
navigate, and
from,
we help to navigate people who are moving from Florida to other states. We help to navigate them and connect them with resources in New York and DC and Arizona and Texas, LA, different places. But we also help with navigating people coming from those regions. So we recently just helped someone get connected with a service down in
and
Broward
there's
because
so
they.
many new people in the area that it's important. The what services what we're talking about was that PrEP, PEP. You have all the other services, but you have resources outside of Palm Beach County, correct?
Correct. So we help people to navigate if they're relocating within the state, or if they're relocating to other states, or they're relocating here. So if they find out about us and they ask us for help, we will definitely help to navigate them. Sometimes we get calls from clients that we've worked with in the past, And they're like, we're moving to Texas and we want to find a place and we trust your opinion. So we help to navigate them towards that because they know that we have an idea of what their needs are and what resources would best be beneficial to them, and vice versa. So we've just helped someone relocating from Chicago down to Broward, and they got connected with the services, and they really absolutely
Right.
love it.
That's wonderful because nobody should have to drive 2 hours at this stage to get a test or to talk to a doctor or do any of that. So you're making it very accessible and comfortable for people. Now, the other thing is you talked about PrEP and you talked about PEP. What is the difference between those?
So prep is before. It's sort of like you take it every day. It's a pill every day to prevent HIV, and so with that, you need to get quarterly lab work done and monitoring ongoing. And so it's kind of like the birth control of HIV. And then PEP is post-exposure prophylaxis. Basically, you have to take it within 72 hours of an exposure to HIV. We do some screenings, and then you take the medication for about 28 days. And basically, it's to prevent you from getting HIV, from acquiring HIV. So it's kind of like the plan B of
Now,
HIV.
how successful if people are going to do this, because they still have to also be consistent. Once you start on an HIV medication or PrEP or PEP, you have to be consistent. You can't just say, well, we're going to do it a little, I'm fine, I missed a couple of days. Don't you instruct people very thoroughly on what they have to do to stay consistently you equals you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do sexual health education. We do provide sexual health education as well as trainings and workshops. And it's not all just around sexual health. We do trainings around cultural sensitivity and humility, LGBTQ, and we do other trainings that can be tailored towards either your staff development or for community programming, um, like our sexual jeopardy game, which help people to identify their own risk. So,
And
but
where do
yes,
you get your
we do talk to people about making sure that they
and
adhere
where
to requirements for taking their medication.
that's good. You get your funding because you're self-employed. I mean, you're a business and you've got to get the resources from somewhere yourself to stay open. If you have a staff and you certainly are out there promoting events. So where do you get the funding from?
So we have a mix of funding. So we do have some funding through the state, and we also have some other programs that we do generate income from. And so largely we started out 100% self-funded. And so as we are growing, the needs are getting greater and greater. So now we definitely need support in order to expand those services and to continue to provide the services that we're already providing right now, but on a larger scale. So yes, that will definitely take some additional funding.
And then there's no reason why a wonderful pharmaceutical company wouldn't want to fund you and fund the show and fund the great work you are doing here in Florida and Palm Beach County, which is the epicenter for so much that's happening with HIV yet and STDs. It's demographics, it's the seniors, it's the kids, it's the drugs, it's Belle Glade, it's West Palm Beach. Palm Beach County is huge, and we have a very diverse population.
Absolutely, one of the largest, if not the largest county in Florida. But again, Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach typically run back to back. So it's like number one, number two, and number three. There has been a shift in the last couple of years where I think uh, Orlando is now number three on that list, and Palm Beach is number four or number five, something like that. So we're still at pretty high risk with our folks here. We do have a large population, And so what we're seeing is that the what HIV looks like right now, or the faces of HIV, are now heterosexual Black women, heterosexual Black men, and then we have Black LGBTQ men and Hispanic LGBTQ men, and then we have white LGBTQ men, followed by Hispanic women, Hispanic men, heterosexual women, heterosexual men, and then white men, and then white women.
So this virus has morphed into the general society.
Oh yes, it's never, the misconception for a lot of people is that, or basically, it's something about humans. We don't always like to just accept what is, and we try to be like, try to push it off onto other groups. And so for a very long time it was the Haitian disease, and it was the gay man's disease, and it was this and it was that, and it really didn't matter whose disease it was, or whether or not it was even somebody else's disease. What mattered was that people needed to make sure that they knew what it was and how to protect themselves. And I think it was just easier to blame other groups
Yeah.
and to say whatever. And I think something that happened within the Black community is when, with all the different blaming of whether or not it was the gay disease or the Haitian disease or the monkey disease, whichever one it was, a lot of people kind of said, well, it's a gay man's disease, so I don't have to worry about it because I'm not gay, or and that crept into a lot of fake communities too, where it's like, well, you don't have, you won't get anything because you're gay, you're not gay, or whatever the case is. But the reality is HIV is an everybody disease, and everybody needs to know their HIV status. So the CDC recommends that everybody gets tested at least once a year, to know their HIV status. It's general routine testing. We encourage everyone to get tested at least twice a year, um, especially if you're sexually active and if you're having multiple partners.
Oh.
We're not judging you. This is a judge-free zone because everybody have a past and everybody have some history. But what we do ask people to do is to just know their HIV status. And it's really quick. We do it in our office. It takes anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 minutes, depending on the test that we use that day. And people can generally get their HIV results within 15 minutes or less, and be in and out the door.
How do you feel about the over the counter that people can get their test kits over the counter or in the mail? How do you feel about that?
I think that's great. We do have at-home HIV test kits, so if you don't want to buy it at the store, we do have them, and we give them out for free. So you can pop by our office and pick one up. And also, the Florida Department of Health also have a system in place where you can request them, and they'll mail it to your home. And in some cases, we've mailed test kits to folks' homes. But if you want to pop by and pick them up, you can. And we also have condoms and lubricant, right? So if you need condoms, if you need lubrication, you can stop by our office and you can grab a goodie bag to go and pick up an at-home HIV test kit, or get one while you're here.
Well, I don't think you should tell a 78-year-old woman about lubrication. That's just not up my. That's just not on my profile right now. Let's get rid of that lubrication word right now. The other thing is, how do you counsel? How do you counsel the culture? I mean, you're from Jamaica and you're very smart and you're aware and you're involved with this, but what do you do when it's the language barrier, it's new people, it's cultural? Men aren't going to wear condoms. Certain cultures, the man's not going to put a condom on no matter what you tell him. And there's certain women that are. How do you counsel about this?
I think sometimes we separate people out into groups like men, women, whatever the case is, and we have these conversations, right? In most of what we've seen, particularly in heterosexual relationships, the woman don't necessarily always decide or is the person who decide when when sex will happen or how it will happen, right? And so we often tell them you should wear a condom and make sure your partner puts on a condom. But when he comes over, if he wants to do it in that moment and you don't have the condoms on you, it just pops off. So people just have sex wherever and do it how they want to, and that's fine. But we try to encourage people to use condoms, and if you can't, or you find that your condom use is inconsistent, then to uh, seek out PrEP, which you can take every day to prevent HIV. And there's an injectable format too. So you can get an injection every other month. So it eliminates you from taking medication on a daily basis, especially if you are concerned that you don't want other people to know that you are taking PrEP, or if you don't want to be bothered with taking a pill every day. We have an injectable format as well.
Do you see the abstinence? Do you see people? And what medications do you see any one specific drug that people are taking and pharmaceutical that people prefer, or how has that come a long way? I mean, once a month, a pill. What's going on with the meds?
I think it just depends on the individual. I don't necessarily see where like one is primarily better than the other. I think it's just the in terms of who is taking it. I think it's just the individual. Some people are just accustomed to taking a pill, and some people just are tired of taking pills and they just want to just make it their life easy. Especially if you can't remember to take your pills every day. The injectables are really a good and safe option every 2 months or every other month.
And what about the bisexuality and the word? I never knew what the down low it meant at all. And that was a term that was used.
I hate
I never
that
understood.
word.
Why is that word out there? What does that mean? I
hate
can't
that word.
stand it.
That down low became a thing back in the day when Oprah did this show with Elin Harris, I think his name was, and basically there was this whole down low phenomena that went on. But the reality is, I don't think being down low is everyone can be on the down low, right? Anything that you do that you don't want somebody else to know is that you're on the down low. So so it's not just about sex. Down low can apply to just about everything. What I think, what I would love for people to just think about for a moment is that if we as a culture and as a community allow people to be who they are and be themselves, and embrace them as a community and embrace our fellow folks as community members, then people won't have to hide their sexual preferences or their sexual identity or their sexual orientation or their gender identity. They won't have to hide any of that from anyone. And if they know that there's support and that their community will embrace them. So when the community shuns people who are part of the LGBTQ community and they grow up in those communities, now they have to leave those communities and go to another community to find safe space when it comes to who they are. And so if we get back into the habit of just embracing people, loving on them and treating them the same way we want to be treated, then I think people would just be who they are and just live and just thrive. And I think that's what we need to do. That's what we need to focus on. And our faith community can be a big support in that area if more of them would just see people as people and just embrace people as the individuals that they are.
And meet them where you meet them. I don't have a past with the person I've just met. I have a present and maybe a future, but you also have to meet people where they are, because we all have a story. We all have something in our lives that we could say dirty laundry or do something or not want to be the people to know. It's just faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love.
Yeah.
And this country is lacking love right now. So shows like this, people like you, love. That is the greatest thing we can share with our brothers and sisters of any color, denomination, sexual orientation. Love never fails.
Yeah, when I came out to my mom, um, I was surprised that she kind of like took a stance against who I was, considering that I was so close to her, and I was just like, what? It was just shocking. But I gotten to a point where I think I was about 21, and I was just like, either you're gonna be my mom going forward from this day, or you're just not gonna be my mom going forward from this day. And so we had that conversation, and you know, she basically said, you're my child and it's my job to love you until the day I die. And so that whatever that comes with is whatever it comes with. But there were some times when she really struggled with that. And I think a lot of her struggling came from her community, who
Right.
sometimes were homophobic and had stigmatizing things to say. And so she would do her best not to really hang out with them that much, and also not to socialize as much with them. And I've been around her and some of her friends who have made some comments and things like that. And, and she just come over and she walked me off to the side, and she's like, these people are ignorant. They don't know what they're talking about. you know and I
Yeah.
said, oh, because I'm getting ready to go
Oh,
off. And
yeah.
so it was just like little things like that. So it took her um a while as we navigated what this new thing was. But I think, honestly, I think what took her a while to accept it is because she thought she was waiting for a day, like, they said we're waiting for the shoe to drop. I think she was waiting for the day for me to come in wearing like lipstick and makeup and and that day never came for her. And so it was very confusing, because she's like, how do you say you're gay, but when we go out so many people think you're straight and girls are hitting on you, and you're not, you know lip glossing, and all the stereotypical things that she had
Yeah.
seen and heard. She thought all of those were to come, so she
And
was, I guess, building up for those moments of, I guess, what she would consider to be
yeah,
embarrassing.
but
Moments
you were not
that
Richard.
never happened. So
You,
I think she
you
just
were
threw the towel and was like,
you were not Richardo. You were Roberta. She was thinking, "Oh, it's not my son Richardo. Roberta's going to come through the door
right.
next." Yeah,
So it was
not your thing.
it was just yeah,
No, I don't think that's you. I also want to ask you. I mean, we'll go to campbellhealth.org. Go to Campbell Health Solutions. You see the number. It's a safe place. It's an all-inclusive facility. And the address, what's the address for people who just want to write it down?
are located on Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard. So we're 2090 Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard, Suite 300, West Palm Beach, Florida 33409. If you know where Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard is, we are right next to the Chick-fil-A that's in that plaza.
The Seacoast Bank
And we're
building.
in the building. There's two towers, two twin matching towers, and we're in the one with the Seacoast Bank.
Yes.
The third
The
floor.
I almost had a little heart attack for the first time I went up there, because leaving Delray and Boca, that's out of my comfort zone, even going to Lake Worth. So the first time I went up there, and I'm seeing all the business and I'm seeing all this, and I'm driving around, and I really was a mess. And now it's just like going, I'll take a little trip to Publix. The other thing, while I have you, is again, we can find out all the business end of Richardo Jackson and Campbell Health Solutions. But I also want to know, are you single, you cutie?
Uh, no, I'm not.
Tell me about this.
Uh,
Tell, tell, tell the hundreds of people watching this about your personal life.
I am married to my wonderful, handsome husband. Mr. Matthew Graham Jackson. And we've been married now for this year will make 10 years that we've been married.
Yeah.
We've been together for 14. And we did it right, I would say. We dated for 2 years. So we met in 2011. We dated for 2 years. And then we got engaged for 2 years. And then we've been married for 10. This year, this August, will make 10 years.
And do you have more children?
Yes. So shortly after we got married, we decided that we had talked about it before. If you get a chance to talk to him, you will hear him say that our first date was almost like an interrogation, because
Questionnaire.
and yeah, exactly. Because you know what, when you're meeting someone, you're trying to decide if this is the person you want to be with and how long you want to be with them. And so you want to make sure that their values and their, goals and aspirations are in line with what you have for yourself as well. And so I was asking all the questions like, what other states do you see yourself living in? Do you want to get married? How long from now are you would you like to get married? Do you want to have kids? What age, what time frame are you looking to have kids? Because I am older than he is. And so I wanted to have kids by the time I'm 40 years old. And I wanted to make sure that he was also in that route, in that line of thinking within the time frame. So it just kind of like made sense.
What are your children's names?
So we have two boys, Michael and Rylan. Michael is about to be 17 next month. And he's a Taurus like me. And then we have Rylan, who just this past January celebrated his 7th birthday. So they're 10 years apart. And it's interesting because both of them were premature at birth. And our youngest, it was just really amazing to like go to the hospital and just pick him up out the hospital, and it was just love at first sight.
So did you have this by surrogate or just adoption? How did that work?
We fostered and adopted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we've talked about
the other thing I want to ask you though about that is, I mean, you both knew, but I think that's so funny. You had a checklist, like a job application.
Everyone should have a checklist. If you're dating, you should have a checklist.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the other thing is, I was going to ask you about this. Oh, Matthew, I've met Matthew so many times. He's just wonderful, Matthew. But where do you see yourself? Let's say next year, 5 years, 10 years, if we're even still in existence by then. But where do you see your future with Campbell Health Solutions?
So we have right now we are going over our strategic planning and realigning some of our goals and our objectives, and doing some strategic planning, and kind of just looking at the next 5 years and the next 10 years, just as a way of making sure that one, we're sustainable, and two, that we continue to implement and adapt services that will continue to benefit the community and provide resources and a space where folks can continue to be safe and can continue to receive the services they need in the timely manner that they need them. And also, we don't have any wait times. You know how the hospitals now, they put the emergency room, they put 5-minute wait time. We have 0 wait time. So, and that's because we make sure that if folks are scheduled to come in for an appointment at 11, they're actually seen at 11. And so this way it eliminates a lot of the backlog. Now, sometimes we have people walk in, and so with walk in, there may be, especially like with testing, there may be a little bit of a wait, but one of the things that we've done here is that all of our staff members are trained to do HIV counseling and testing. So you don't ever have to wait for a rapid HIV test at all. It's smooth sailing because there's generally about 3 or 4 people readily available to do an HIV test. So we want to continue to expand that and make our service more accessible, especially in rural communities, just so this way folks can get that same feel, whether it's mobile or in-home.
And I was going to say it would be wonderful to have Campbell Health have a mobile a van that you could go out into the community, even if it was once a month or every other week.
Yeah, we're going to be testing out that. We working through the health department with the county, who has a mobile unit. We a medical mobile unit. We're going to be working with them to set up some opportunities, and then we can gauge from there whether or not we'll get our own mobile unit, or whether or not we'll just continue to look at optimizing health.
And also, you are the chair. Oh, I like that with that. You are the chair of the HIV Care Council of Palm Beach County.
Yeah, so a lot of...
What is the Care Council?
So so I am now twice chair. This is my second year being nominated and as chair of the Palm Beach County HIV Care Council. And so basically this committee was created to decide, I guess, or help the county decide where the funding should go and where the monies should be spent, especially for the Ryan White dollars, to decide what services are funded and how much money goes into those categories to ensure that people who are in need of those resources can have access to not only just HIV care services, but laboratory or insurances or housing or food and things like that.
And at Campbell Health, what insurance do you take? Insurance you charge? How does the financial end of it work?
So we take about 13 different insurances right now, and we're still working on some more. Some of the ones I can think of off the top of my head are like Cigna, Better, Sunshine, United Healthcare, Florida Blue, and a couple of other ones, Solace, Clear Health Alliance, Better, WellCare, Stay Well. Yeah, so we take about a bunch of those. We even take the VA insurance as well, so we can see vets. So if you're a vet who is living with HIV and is looking for a provider, we are here to serve. And we also can take you and see you for primary care or urgent care ailments that you may have. If you're unable to get a quicker appointment at the VA. So we're able to do that as well. And we also take cash. Cash is...
If they don't have insurance, you take cash.
Yeah, we do take cash as well. And also, so insurance and cash, that's it. And we do have limited services that are offered for free. So like our HIV testing. Sometimes we do waive fees for like STD screening and things like that. So yes.
You're very accommodating.
Absolutely. You have to be. And that's why our hours are the way they are. Generally our hours are from 10 to 6 p.m. And then on the third Tuesday of every month, we do have a clinic that goes until 9 p.m.
And all this information is on your website, right? Or they can
Oh,
find
absolutely. Yeah. We have the number up there, 561 208-6595. People can call and find out more about the services that we have. Um, yeah, and if we don't offer it, we can definitely help you connect to somebody who does.
Yeah, that's what's important. If you don't have it, you have the resources and the information to be able to make it okay. The other thing I want to end on is, how do you feel like you have equality with marriage? You're married to a man and you have the LGBTQ community. Where are we going now in this country, or with this administration? Give me something on a personal level of where you think we are.
That's a very tough one because it's everything changes every day. What I do hope is that our senators, regardless of what state they live in, is are from or representing, that they make sure that they're doing what's right for the people and that they're voting for
Yeah.
common sense, and that they're making sure that they are taking the concerns of their constituents at heart. And
Yeah.
likewise, I feel like, or similarly, I feel like if they aren't doing what they're supposed to do, then people, you have the power, go out, register to vote, and exercise your voice at the ballot box. Don't just, a lot of times people just vote for the president, right? They get involved in the presidential election.
Oh,
Well, a lot of the stuff that happens locally are determined by the people you have locally who represent you. And
yeah.
so if you don't vote for those mayors, those commissioners, those senators, those representatives for your areas, judges, and the likes, they're the ones who are setting the rules for your county and your state. And so you have to be able to let your voice be heard. And that's where you start. And then they, in turn, will then be able to represent your interests at the federal level. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I encourage everyone, we have an election year next year,
Yes, we
to
do.
make sure that you dust off your your registration paperwork. Make sure you go sign up to vote.
Yeah.
If you're not registered to vote, go do that ASAP. And if you are registered to vote, make sure you just check online to make sure that your registration is still active and that you are still able to vote. And if you have family members, friends, neighbors, community folks, church members who are not registered to vote and
And
can register to vote legally and be able to vote, make sure you talk to them about doing so.
there's
Because,
going there's going to be a whole new crop of
yes,
people popping up at these town halls when you're not happy. They don't even want to show up anymore because of it. But I think human rights and equal rights
yeah,
and women's rights and marriage rights, I think the right to have the right to live in this country, free speech,
absolutely.
the
That's,
right to live here is a right, and
yeah,
take it seriously.
that's one of the questions too. Like when I got married, I know like a couple of family members did not, they had lots of questions and didn't appreciate that I gotten married and all this other stuff. I mean, they weren't invited to the wedding, and I don't make any qualms about that. But at the same token, if you don't support me, if you can't support me wholeheartedly, then why would I want you to sit in my face? No tea, no shade. So for me, what I said was, how is it impacting you, the fact that I just got married, or the fact that I'm married to the person I love and care about, to my husband? How is that adversely impacting you? How is it impacting your life? How is it impacting their paycheck? How is it impacting when you go home at night? Does it impact your family? Does it when you're with your wife or with your husband? Does it impact your relationship? Does it prevent you from loving who you love? It doesn't. So what is the problem? You, so what is the problem? It doesn't. The same way you want to wake up and go out in the world and breathe freely and live your life to the fullest of your ability is the same thing that the LGBTQ community wants, and it's the same thing that the LGBT community needs. And so Let's make sure that the world is a safe place for everyone.
And how is someone else's life? I mean, it's not like you're paying my mortgage. It's not like you have access. I mean, how does the fact that if someone wants to love someone of the same sex, what is it? Why should that bother me? Where is your brain? I think a lot of it comes from the heart. A lot of it is stupid, and a
Of
lot
course,
of it is just ignorance.
right, it is. And a lot of times you see these things where people are like, oh, it's, gender new, people should use bathrooms that align with that the gender that they were born, and yada yada yada. Well, the reality is, if you grow up in America, in anywhere in the world, and you have a bathroom in your home or apartment, it's a gender neutral bathroom. Everyone grew up using a gender neutral bathroom. Your daddy use it, your mama use it, your brother use it, your sister use it. When your uncle and them come over, they use it. It's a gender neutral bathroom. I've never been to someone's home and it says boys, girls, man, or woman. Never. It's a gender neutral bathroom.
I've told this story on to a few people as we've interviewed them when it came up. We've had some drag, we had drag, someone in drag. We've had a lot of different varieties on this show, and that's what makes it so marvelous to watch because we don't know who we're going to get, and we know a little. But anyway, when with Jeff and I, we lived in Houston, and we lived right around the corner from all the bars. We lived in Montrose, where the gay bars were. It was very arty, like Miami with the Art Deco area and all that. And so we would just get high with our friends and we would just go dance. And we didn't care if we had a drink, we'd be drinking a little bit. And next thing you know, it'd be 1 o'clock in the morning and we'd have to pee, but we wanted to still dance because the club was open till 2 in the morning or 3. And we're having a good time. And next thing you know, I just wanted to go to the bathroom. I always looked like a girl. I always dressed up like this. And the men were hitting on Jeff more than they hit on me. But as a matter of fact, I had to go pee. And I didn't care if it was a men's room. I didn't care if it was a ladies' room. And I didn't care if there was a penis out there. I didn't care if there was I didn't care. All I knew was I had to pee. I wanted to do my business and get back out there and dance. What is so crazy today?
I think the issue is that there are a lot of heterosexual men who are attacking and doing all sorts of things to women sometimes. And I feel like they've just used that as a way of kind of like scaring people into this thing of making transgender individuals the boogeyman in the closet. And it really
Yeah.
isn't, right? What what's the most somebody's gonna come out the bathroom with their makeup straight, like their lipstick on correctly? Like, come on, it's not that serious. I
I
think
mean, it,
people just take it and blow it out of proportion. And
oh,
what's even sadder sometimes is that they know how to use those tactics in certain communities to get those communities to vote in support of the antics, right? So if you look at a lot of these bills, they're largely written by people who don't look like me, but they're largely voted on and supported by people who look like me. And so I think it's time for our community, my community, to really take a step back and really look at the things that they're voting for and really say, really and truly, let's take a second look at this and let's not be gaslight by people who are just out for their own personal gain. And
that's so.
a lot of times these things don't even impact the people. These things don't even impact the people who are even pushing these bills, right? They're just it's half the time I feel like people are just doing things because it's America and they can.
And in some ways, there was more freedom back in the 80s. Yes, there was the stigma of life, but in some ways, there was more freedom in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. It seems like as time has evolved, we've made some progress in some areas, but there's a part of us that has gone backwards completely.
Yeah, I think if people are able to live their life freely and be who they are, then I don't think that you have to worry about anything. Do you really want men to now pretend like they're not gay and getting married to heterosexual women and sneaking around and sleeping around on them and potentially exposing them to
Yeah,
HIV and STDs. Do you
yeah,
want to go back there? Do you want to go back to people doing and using wire hangers because they can't freely have an abortion? I
yeah.
mean, there are just so many different things. And I'm not saying that, you know, you should or shouldn't have something. What I'm saying is that people need to use common sense. And just because I may not utilize a thing, like I know that I'm never going to have an abortion, but I feel like it should be available if somebody needs it and wants it.
Mm-hmm.
And just because I am not able to have one, I think that that's not a good enough reason to stop somebody else from having access to something.
And
I think also that with the amount of men in Congress, what I feel like they've spent a lot of time in the business of women and not enough time just doing the business of the country. I feel like
yeah,
there's too many policies regulating
yeah.
women's
Stay
bodies,
out of my vagina.
rights and choices, and I feel like they
Yeah.
just what if women really get together and start making bills and laws that prevents men from having babies and not taking care of them? Like if you have a child, every matter of fact, everybody who give birth, the baby should be DNA tested and
Hallelujah.
logged in
That's
the
wonderful.
database logged in the database, right? And then all the potential fathers must submit to a DNA test. And if you are the father, then you'll be held liable for that child and you must take care of that child. And if you refuse to take care of that child, then we're going to garnish your check. And if you can't, and then we'll put you, and then you go to jail and you serve time. Or
Yes.
if you have two or more babies with two or more baby mamas, then you should have a vasectomy. Like,
Oh,
I bet you a lot of these things, a lot of these policies that they're trying to put on women will go away. I
you
think,
bet.
right? So
Just take it off, honey. Just cut it off.
I,
Just sever that cord right there. You want to have babies? Well, you're not going to have any more. Boom. I've been thinking,
I,
I, I
I
think
think
that's
it's,
a wonderful
I
thing.
think women should start looking at that and saying, wait a minute, let's if you want to regulate us, let's make some laws regulating you. Because a lot of the people who sometimes are pushing these laws are the ones who have these, they're paying secretly for their mistresses to go have abortions, and they're paying
Uh-huh.
secretly for, you know, these kids that they couldn't get rid of. And so, yeah, just because it's not out in the open doesn't mean it's not happening. uh, you
Oh,
know
no. I think vasectomy should be the new facelift.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
automatic
Botox and fillers.
automatic automatically until you're able to take care of a child.
That's right.
And you can go have
Two strikes, maybe three with two different women. Honey, you're in the hospital the next day. Whack it off. Take good care of it. It's gone.
yeah,
That's definitely a great way to stop this nonsense. Men should think a lot harder about where their penis has been and
right.
have some work done on it. Oh, I love talking about that because I've been
And
into.
women are not the only ones who are just deciding to have babies. Women are not just out there saying, "Oh, let me just have this baby and I'm just gonna just like come on." It takes two people to do that. Unless you're going the technology route, but it does take two people to do that. And so yeah,
It
so
does.
you should if you're going if you're let's not just sit there and blame the woman. She has to carry the baby, yes, for 9 months and whatnot, but if she's not going to have a choice in the matter, then the minute the rule said you have to have this baby because abortion is illegal, they need to start identifying the dads, and they need to make sure that they put the dads on notice to say, you need to take care of this child. And the day you stop taking care of this child, here's what will happen.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you our laws will look a lot different.
I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime. Maybe yours, but I'm on the downside of the mountain. It's not going to happen in my lifetime. But I think that's a wonderful way to hold people accountable. And
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. I feel sorry more for culture, for African American and Hispanic women, but I also know that the people who have the money, they can pay to have somebody fly somewhere and get an abortion. But the poor people who get pregnant, they don't have any choices. They are stuck now, and I
Right.
think
And
that's very sad.
that's why it looks like, Black and brown women are having abortions more so than other races, and it's actually not really. So I think it's, it's one of those things, and where, you just we in this country, folks have used data and have used different groups to belabor a point, or to prove, or to advocate for or against something. And I think that culture just continued to go on and on and on. I mean, look at the whole food insecurity thing. For years and years and years, they're like, oh, we have to get rid of public assistance because all these, minority folks, Black and brown people on public assistance. Yes, concentrated in areas. So this is why when they come out with the statistics, they're like, oh, in West Palm Beach, well, that's just a city. And they go, there are like 80%, 90% of the people on food stamps and public assistance are Black and brown. Okay, but when you look at the county as a whole, it's not Black and brown people. When you look at the state of Florida as a whole, it's not Black and brown people who are the majority of the people on public assistance. So I think when you look across the country, that number still continues. But when they report it on TV, they're like, oh, when you look at these cities, New York City and DC and Philadelphia. Okay, but let's look at the state.
Right. Of course. They're always going to do that. They slant, and the news is so slanted today anyway. But I want to say, I think we've covered a very diverse.
I know. We just kind of like went on this whole thing just now. So
and that's the way you and I are. I mean, it's just why this show works, why we work, is we just get along well. You let me have my time. I let you do what you need, market us, network us, and I just get on here with an outfit and go, okay, who are we on tonight? What are we going to talk about? Make out my little list. And that's why.
Anyone, if you're watching this show and, or, definitely if you would like to be a guest on Campbell Health, on the Positively Positive show hosted by Susan Mintz, right there. You're watching it right now. Please like, share, and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. And also, if you would like to be on the show, definitely send us a message at info@campbellhealth.org, or you can absolutely shoot me an email at rjackson@campbellhealth.org, or give us a call, and we'll make sure that you get the information so you can be on the show.
Because this show is very different. I mean, we have organizations, we have community activists, we have people we have to everybody. I always say we are removing the stigma.
Of course.
HIV,
and your
one
guests,
show at a time.
And your guests have been so diverse, like Arizona, the Washington State,
New York City, South Carolina.
So your guests have been all over the place, and right here in good old Florida. So yeah, for sure. And if you would like to support the work that we're doing, just text HS to 53555 to support the work that we're doing. And you can make a donation of any amount of your choosing.
Preferably 7 figures from a pharmaceutical company would be marvelous.
Right, or make a reoccurring donation monthly or annually, or however you please. Just text the number and you'll get a link with all the details. And yeah, thank you, Suzanne, for having me on tonight. Really,
I didn't have a choice. He's canceled the whole show. I'd be positively negative if I didn't let him be on. He'd be the negatively negative show. We just get along really well. That's what's wonderful. He's this amazing man that came into my life and saw my passion, and I saw his passion, and together, teamwork. You are not an island. Teams work well. When they work well together, so much more gets done. It's just
absolutely.
It's been phenomenal.
And don't forget to check her out at susanmintz.com. Okay.
Check me out, and you'll see that one man who's a little dark on the gallery. That's not my boyfriend. He's Richardo Jackson, but it's a great picture. But the other thing is, and yes, if you get in touch with me on Facebook or you go to my website, I have the calendar link and I can send it off to you also, because we want the diversification. We don't want any one group. We want all of you. We don't care what you feel like, look like, who you are, whether you want to. We want your story and why.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
For sure.
For sure.
Thank you for watching. Positively positive.
Thank you for having me.